How do I get support for type safety at design time with Python? I do this with type hints. Let's explore this with 5 minutes of Python. Python is a weakly typed language, meaning that types will be interpreted at runtime. The challenge with this is it can lead to runtime errors. So if I take a look at my code here, I'm going to notice that my ID is actually going to be a string since I'm pulling this in with an input statement. I'm not going to know that until runtime though. I'm not going to see that error until runtime. And when I go to construct my customer, I can see that the data type is being implied here with last order date. But since this is pulling in from a text file in our case, it's going to wind up being a string. Again, I'm not going to see that until runtime. I can see this at design time by adding in type hints. I add in a type hint by using a colon after my variable or parameter name in this case, and then specify the data type that I want it to be. So in my case, I want my ID to be an integer. I can also do this up here with my customer, make sure that my ID is going to be an integer, that my name is going to be a string, my email is going to be a string, and then finally, last but not least, that my order date is going to be a date. I can also do one last thing here on my customer is I can indicate that we are, if I can put in the keystroke correctly, returning back a customer. So now I've set up all of my type safety, but you're going to notice I'm still not seeing any errors on my screen here. I'm not seeing any red squigglies. If I go into my settings for Visual Studio Code and I go look for my Pylance, I'm going to see right here Python analysis type checking mode. And if I set this to, let's set this to standard, what this will now do is let me know anytime that I'm passing in a parameter or using a data type incorrectly. So I can now see red squigglies under my ID, tells me that the string is incompatible with an integer. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to convert this directly away. I normally would add in some bit of validation code, but I'm just going to do this right here. And then to convert this to a date, I've got a nice little convert date up top. I'm just going to use that. And now my code is very neatly updated. So what I'm seeing here is that now, if I tried to use that string where an integer was expected, I saw those red squigglies. So I'm going to see that error right here at design time. And the exact same thing is now true with this convert date, that I'm going to see the error at design time. This allows me to know that I'm using my data types correctly. I'll also notice that I'm going to get increased support from my IDE because the IDE will be able to use all of those type hints and let me know both the types that are expected, but the types that are going to be returned back from my functions.